Good afternoon again, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Please remember to keep your video off and your microphone on mute to reduce background noise. Questions can be submitted via the chat feature. To begin our town hall today, it is my pleasure to introduce our president, Sister Candace Introcaso. Welcome, Sister Candace.
Thank you, Dr. Weisgerber. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the LaRoche Virtual Town Hall meeting on the reopening of campus. Over 3 months ago, close to 80 members of our campus community began the work of creating the plan for reopening the LaRoche campus. 3 weeks ago, we released the plan, Red Hawks Reunited. And today we want to give our students an opportunity to ask questions and give us feedback on various aspects of the plan. I'm joined today by a number of members of the steering committee that guided the plan's development. Dr. Howard Ishiyama, Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. Colleen Ruffle, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students. Dr. Rosemary McCarthy, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs. J.R. Young, Associate Vice President for Facilities Management. And Brady Butler, Associate Vice President for Marketing and Media Relations. And I'm also joined by other members of the President's Executive Council. You've already met Dr. Chip Weisgerber, who's our Vice President for Enrollment Management. Sarah White, Executive Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and our Chief Diversity Officer. And Steve Lapello, Vice President for Finance, Administration, and our Chief Financial Officer. Before we share with you some highlights of the plan and answer the questions that we've already received, I thought this might be the perfect time to give LaRoche's new Chief Diversity Officer, Sarah White, an opportunity to say a few words to you. Last month, I announced the appointment of Sarah as the Executive Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer. Sarah is no stranger to the LaRoche community, joining LaRoche in 2014 as the Coordinator of Accessibility Services. In her new role, she will continue to oversee that area, and she'll also be responsible for overseeing the development of a strategic diversity and inclusion plan for the university, for working with various university groups to ensure our plans are in place to address areas of its education, training, advocacy, and policy, and to continue to interact and support our students, particularly our students of color. I've got great confidence in Sarah's ability to lead us at this critical time in LaRoche's history, and at a time in higher education and in our nation when we're once again confronted with issues of racism in individuals and in our institutions. I know that you'll join me in giving Sarah White our support and promise to assist in this important work we face as a community committed to inclusion. So I'd love to introduce you now to Sarah White.
Thank you, Sister. And hello, LaRoche. We are so excited to welcome you all back to campus in the coming days. The Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is committed to creating and sustaining a welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone at LaRoche. That includes students, faculty, staff, and administrators alike. We strive to be a community that embraces diversity and encourages dialogue across our differences to increase individual intercultural competence and to truly be the best for the world. We are thrilled to include the Office of Accessibility Services as a part of this work, and we look forward to welcoming a new Assistant Director for Accessibility and Equity later this fall. We also realize that we are at a pivotal time in the history of LaRoche, the country, and our greater world. This year has been filled with a multitude of challenges for so many. We know this pandemic has revealed inequities in our collective access to healthcare, technology, food, and other necessary resources. We've also seen an increased awareness of prejudices, racial injustices, and systemic racism. I know it can all feel so heavy. It feels heavy for me a lot of times. But instead of staying in that heaviness, I choose to see it as a call to action. Now more than ever, we need to live out our mission to promote justice and peace in a constantly changing global society. We will need to have some difficult conversations so that we may listen to and learn from one another's experiences. It's going to require some open minds and relationship building. I hope you are willing to take up this charge with me, and I encourage you to contact me if you have ideas, questions, or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speaker today is Dr. Rosemary McCarthy, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs and our Pandemic Safety Officer. Welcome, Rosemary. All right, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Just give us a second and we'll get Rosemary connected so that we can hear from her about our pandemic safety plan. Are you there, Rosemary?
I think I am at this point. Thank you, Dr. Weisgerber.
Great, thank you.
Welcome, students. LaRoche has put in place many safety features to keep us all healthy and safe during this very unusual time. I would like to start by reviewing with you a few of the new guidelines and protocols which will change our social interactions around campus. The first is the mask requirement. We are required to wear a mask in all public areas, including the parking lot and sidewalks. When you arrive on campus, please put your mask on before you get out of your car or before you leave your room if you live in the residence halls. Screening is required for everyone on campus. Please arrive on campus a few minutes earlier than normal so you have time to be screened. There are two main screening areas, the entrance to the campus center for employees and the entrance near the chapel for students. And there are signs on the doors to direct you during the off hours. You must have your mask on as you enter the screening stations. There you will have your temperature taken and you will need to answer 3 health screening questions. Once you are cleared, you will be given a wristband. Please put the wristband on immediately and wear it while you are on campus. Each day, the color of the wristband will change. During the weekend, we will have screeners at the entrance of the campus, at the campus center during meal times, and the library will also have screeners on weekends. When we talk about social distancing, it is important for us to maintain the proper distance of 6 feet. We have marked the desks in the classrooms to keep everyone separated properly, and you will notice the same separation in the cafeteria. Please follow directional signage to keep the flow of traffic in one direction. The only 2 entrances opened will be the 2 entrances to the campus center. All other doors will be exit only. In regards to contact tracing, this involves identifying people who have infectious disease. So those are considered the cases, and then those people who they have been in contact with are considered the contacts. The CDC indicates that probability for spread increases markedly when individuals are closer than 6 feet from one another for longer than 15 minutes. So if we maintain our distance, then we should be able to maintain a healthy and safe community. If someone does test positive, either the health department or I will follow up with that person to determine who they may have been in contact with. And this is part of our contact tracing. We need to determine who that case was in contact with so that we can quarantine them properly if necessary. If there is a positive case on campus, I will send out an email to notify the campus community. Lastly, our cleaning protocols have changed. We have increased cleaning to those high used areas, such as the restrooms, to 4 times a day. And we have also placed large containers of sanitizing wipes in each classroom. And we are asking that when you enter the classroom, please get a sanitizing wipe and wipe down the desk and the keyboard. It is very important that you sanitize the area that you will be using. We ask all students to show your support and sign the student pledge that you will act with kindness, honesty, and compassion, and with responsibility toward one another as we face unique and extraordinary challenges together. We are counting on you, our students. I want to thank you in advance for following these very simple guidelines, which will help keep our LaRoche community safe and healthy throughout the semester. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCarthy. We did have a question on the chat. Could you go into a little more detail about how students will enter buildings? There was a question about how we would get into other buildings like the HAC if we're just using a single entrance. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about the screening and our travel patterns.
So when you come in through the main entrance, you will be screened and you will receive a wristband, and that allows you then to move around freely. You will be able to enter the HAC building, the academic extension, from entering the main entrance to the campus center. Why we have made the other doors exit only is we want to make sure that everyone is screened before entering the building.
Great, thank you. All right, please welcome our Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Howard Ishiyama.
Thank you, Dr. Weisgerber. First of all, I want to say that it's wonderful to greet and welcome our new students to the LaRoche community and any parents that may be joining in. And I also want to welcome back our returning students. It will certainly be an interesting year, to say the least, but I really am excited to see and meet all of you again next week. The energy of returning to school is back, and it is palpable here. For all of you listening in, please know that we very much plan to deliver a quality education as safely as possible. But please make no mistake, this will not be business as usual. The classroom on campus will be very different this year. The number of students on campus at any one time will be fewer and spaced out. Students will be using more technology. Everyone will be wearing masks, and everyone will be socially distanced. Our academic plan was put together by a number of leaders across our faculty divisions, as well as our staff divisions, and fashioned to attempt to accommodate as many student situations as we could think of. Now, we know students have travel restrictions, that you have health concerns for both yourself and your family members, but we also know that there are many, many students who really need and want to be on campus and taught in a face-to-face environment supported by a caring LaRoche faculty and staff. So we put together a plan that was flexible enough to accommodate most everyone. Now, admittedly, I'm sure there are going to be situations that we won't be able to accommodate, but hopefully those will be few and far between. And the thing that I will promise you is that we work very hard to find solutions to the extent that we are able to for anyone's situation. At the core of our plan are 3 course modalities. The first one is the small immersive in-class experience, and this is our normal face-to-face LaRoche class. It's going to be a small classroom environment, as you have always experienced. And to give you a feel for what it's going to be like, faculty and students will need to, when they enter the room, will need to wipe down their seat and their table. Wipes and disinfectant will be provided, and everyone is expected to clean their stations before they take a seat. Faculty and students will be required to wear masks. Many spaces will be not used in a classroom, and those chairs and spaces will be clearly designated. Seats will be 6 feet apart from each other. There will be plexiglass installed at the front of the podium in front of the faculty member. The schedule has been revised, so there are 15 minutes between each class. So that will allow an entire classroom to clear before the next classroom is to enter. Faculty members will be dismissing their class no later than the prescribed end time. They'll be dismissing their students by rows, and attendance will be taken, and seats will be assigned. Now, this is a change from our normal practice, but we need to do that to support the contact tracing. Secondly, there are a significant number of remote online courses. A third of our curriculum is online, and we really knew that there's a lot of students out there that were asking for this edition. So we do have a number of courses, a robust number of offerings in distance-based options. And then finally, we have a high flex classroom experience option. And so in this situation, we have cameras and technology that have been added to classrooms that allow students to participate both remotely and face-to-face in classroom lecture and discussion. Now, in this way, the high flex classroom allows students who become ill to still be able to participate in the classroom in real time, or to view the classroom at a later time. Yes, these classes will be recorded. Those recordings will be just retained for a few weeks, and access will only be given to those students. No one need miss a beat. The student will have to, of course, inform the faculty member if they do need to go to this option, and of course not just not show up, but this will allow us to reduce the footprint and social density on campus. So with these measures, we will have reduced the number of students in all classrooms in all academic buildings during all time slots on every day of the week to 50% capacity or less. And we think through this plan, we've tried to preserve our signature LaRoche experience as much as possible, while keeping our students, staff, and faculty as safe as possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We did have a question come in, and so maybe you could talk a little bit more. The question was ability of students to go 100% virtual, especially if they live or work with people who are at-risk individuals. So how might that be accommodated for a student?
So that is possible. The first thing that I would suggest is the student take a look at those online offerings, and certainly work with your advisor to make sure that those offerings fit within your course needs. The second thing is the high flex option. So just about all of our classrooms actually have the ability to high flex. So if you're in a situation where you need to be online, or you have a strong preference for being online, then please talk with your faculty members to determine if you can be part of that high flex option, if your class is available for high flexing. And those faculty members have been asked to make that available to you if it is possible. So it is very plausible for you to be 100% online. Now there's a catch to it. So if you're a science major, there's a little more difficulty in those science labs to go fully online. And I would encourage the student who's asking this question to talk with your advisor as soon as possible. The sooner we get to understand problems and concerns, the quicker we can resolve them.
Great. And one other question, can you talk a little bit about the plan for the entry-level MSN students, and also about clinical experiences for nursing and simulation labs?
So I am probably not the best person to talk about the entry-level MSN program and our plan for that. And I don't know if Dr. McCarthy would like to address that as a professor of nursing.
Certainly, certainly. We are ready to start this semester with the clinical sites in place. And at this point in time, we are able to take our nursing students into those sites. So our simulation center is wonderful, and we will start orienting our students there. But yes, clinicals at this point are open. So certainly that may change over the semester, but at this point we will have clinicals, yes.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dr. McCarthy, and thank you, Dr. Ishiyama. Our next speaker is Colleen Ruffle, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students. So welcome, Colleen.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who I've been able to communicate with over the summer by email, by phone calls, it's been really good to answer your questions and come up with a plan that will work for our students. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the safety protocols that we have developed. Some of these were outlined in our original plan, but we've had some updates, and many of them we've been emailing students as they've come up. So some of these you may know already, and some of them may be new to you. I'm going to start with athletics. When the original plan went out, we have a fall sports season. However, since then, all fall sports have now been postponed until the spring. And basketball has also been postponed until a January start date. We are still waiting for clarification from the NCAA regarding fall team practices and what we're able to do with teams practicing this fall, but there would definitely not be any practices for the first 3 weeks of school. And by then we should know exactly what we're able to do. We have the fitness center will be open, including the weight room. We will have limited hours for the fitness center weight room. Students will need to sign up online for 1 hour time slots, and that will be available at the beginning. Also, beginning of the semester, the fitness center will not be open on weekends. So if that's important to you, you might need to find an alternative place to work out if you want to work out on weekends. We do have a small fitness center in Bold Hall. If you live in Bold Hall, you will be able to use that space also, but occupancy will be limited. In the residence halls, we reduce the density, the number of students living in the residence hall. So there are not as many students who are planning on living on campus this coming semester. We are fortunate that all of our rooms do have private bathrooms, so we do not have some of the challenges that other schools have with common showers and bathrooms. All of our rooms were clean and sanitized over the summer. We are limiting access to the halls to people who actually live there. So if students are not permitted to bring non-resident guests into their rooms. Also, students will not be permitted this semester to visit other residence halls. So if you live in Muller Hall, that is the only residence able to be in. We are limiting the number of guests in a room to no more than 2 per room. And those guests must live in that building. Common spaces like laundry rooms and lounges have a decreased capacity, and all those numbers are posted on the doors before you enter. All residents are also required to submit a COVID safety plan with information about what they need, what they will need to do if they need to quarantine, if they have an exposure to the virus. If students live within a few hours of campus, we are going to ask them to return home for that quarantine time. Complex options on the classrooms that have already been described, students should be able to continue in class even if they are in quarantine. We have set aside rooms designated for quarantine if we need those. And we have established a system for food delivery, health and safety connection, laundry and trash pickup. So we are prepared if we need to quarantine students. In addition to the COVID safety plan, students were also sent an addendum to their housing contract outlining all the things that I'm explaining now. We do understand that some of these restrictions, these changes aren't going to work for everyone. And you students may not feel comfortable living here or may not like some of the restrictions that we have. So we are allowing students to cancel their housing contract with no penalty up until the time they move in. And you can work with Residence Life between now and your move-in time if you would like to explore that option. For students who are moving in this coming week, which are most of our resident students, you will have the opportunity for a 2-hour move-in window. You are permitted to bring in up to 2 guests to help you move in. That the move-in process will be as touchless as possible. We will do as much as we can in your cars. So as you pull onto campus, We will do a screening right there. We will make sure all your forms have been signed online. You will receive your keys, and you'll be able to drive right to your building where you can move in. Also, our orientation leaders have already arrived on campus, and it's been great to see them this week. They're getting ready to welcome all of our students. During the course of the summer, they were able to reach out to most of our new students by phone, by text, by Snapchat, by social media, so that students can be connected with orientation leaders. We also are planning to having activities for orientation. They will look different than we typically have had. All the activities will be in small groups, almost exclusively. Everything will be planned outside. We do have tents on campus, so we need to move under a tent that is possible. The events are planned to encourage social distancing, so you'll be able to meet people, but keep that distance. You'll be required to wear your masks, but we do think we can have a robust student experience for our new students and welcome them to La Roche this week. Students, all of us will see a significant change in food service. They've been able to really make a lot of adaptations. We have eliminated all self-serve stations, so you can still get pizza or salad, entrees. There's lots of healthy options, there's lots of dessert options, but everything will be served to you by food service team members, and most of it will be wrapped or in disposable items. Students will be able to take food out of the dining hall. You can pick up your food to go. Some of it can be pre-packaged before you even get there, or you can go in and you can say, I'd like a salad, I'd like this chicken, and they will package it up to you. Students do have the opportunity to eat in the dining hall, but we have reduced capacity and we have spread out the tables and chairs. So students can leave the dining room with their food. They can eat in the square. There are picnic tables scattered throughout campus. There are the tents. Students can take their food back to their room if they'd like. So there are options for students who do not want to eat in the dining hall, or there may just not be space depending on when the student goes in there. We also have set up an alternative place to pick up food, and that is in the fitness center where the Nest is. It's an alternative site with prepackaged meals will be planned there. So if you don't have classes that day and you don't want to walk into the crowd of people, you can go right to the fitness after you get screened and go pick up a meal to go. The Red Hawk Cafe is also still an option for students. We do encourage everyone to use the app that's available. It's called the Touch app, and you can put it on your phone. You can order your meals. You can order what you'd like with a specific time that you'd like to pick it up, so that you don't have to wait in line when you go down there. The kiosks will be available, but we're trying to find. So if you could order on your phone, that probably would work out best. Neither the dining hall or the Red Hawk Cafe will be accepting cash this semester. So you will need to pay with either a credit card, a debit plan, or you could also sign up for the Red Hawk plan. Only students that have some type of meal plan, or either a resident student or a commuter that has a commuter meal plan, are permitted to eat in the dining hall. You can still go in and get your food, but to stay in the dining room, you need to have a meal plan. There will be some extended meal equivalency time for students to eat in the Red Hawk Cafe. If some of this is I know I'm giving you a lot of information today. There will be people to explain some of this when you come into the dining hall. There will be staff set up at the beginning, welcome you, explain any processes you might have, to let you know whether your meal card is good in the dining hall or the Red Hawk. All that will be explained during orientation if you're a new student, or if you're a returning student, some of these changes that we've made. I have talked to so many students who are student leaders who are here already. We have student government members on campus. We have orientation leaders. We have RAs. And we are excited to have a robust student experience. We've gone through some training protocols with them. We are going to encourage clubs and organizations to continue to be able to function. They will be able to meet. They will either meet virtually or they can meet in small. If they can meet outside, that would be ideal. There will be an activities fair, so new students are able to find out what clubs and organizations we have, and what types of programs that they will be able to participate in. So there are some opportunities to get involved. For students that may be struggling with anxiety over COVID or some of these changes, or really any mental health issue, our counseling service department is open. It will be available for in-person meetings, but also virtual if you don't want to meet with them. So those services are free, they are confidential, and we encourage students to take advantage of counseling on campus to do that. We continue to use UPMC Urgent Care as our health services. Students will continue to receive non-emergency routine care like they've had before. That's at no cost to the student. And students, we do encourage students to call before you go over there, just so that you don't have to wait. They're limiting the number of people in the waiting room. If you go over there, let them know that you're a LaRoche student. Make sure you take your LaRoche ID, and they will service you. They do not do testing for COVID at urgent care, but they can make some recommendations for you if they believe that you need that. I know I've given lots and lots of information about our safety plan. We put a lot into this plan. We've worked with the health department. We've worked with other schools in Pittsburgh. We've worked with the state on some recommendations. So there's a lot of information here that we've been able to put in place. But I just want to let students know it's really going to be up to you. You're going to have to wear a mask. You're going to have to social distance. You're going to have to wash your hands. You're going to have to make smart choices so that we can get through this semester. It will be different, but we think we really can make it work, and we can really make it a transformational experience. But again, it's up to students to participate. So thanks in advance for your cooperation, and I look forward to seeing you later this week.
Thank you. As you might imagine, we've received a few questions about some of the things that you've talked about. So in no particular order, could you repeat the name of the app that the food service uses and where students can find that?
It is available on the app called Touch of Sage, S-A-G-E. And I've been using it the last couple of weeks, and it really works great.
Great. There's a question about UPMC Urgent Care. Is that at no charge for any student for any service?
It is at no charge for any student, full-time, part-time, commuter, resident, for something that's considered routine, non-emergency. So if you have allergy issues, the kind of things you would go to your PCP for, not the emergency room.
Great. And I think we were having a little bit of video trouble. The app is called A Touch of Sage, and they can get that at the App Store, either from Android, Google, or wherever you get your apps. That's correct?
Yes.
Great. We had a couple questions about activities. Let me get to them. One of the questions was, is the fitness center going to be available, and how is that going to work?
Yes, the fitness center is available. Students will be able to participate in non-contact sports. So you can go down and shoot around a basketball, but you can't play a pickup game, and there will be staff to monitor that. The fitness center will only be open at the beginning of the semester, Monday through Friday. So it's not going to be open on weekends, so we can kind of spread that out, make sure it gets clean and sanitized. For the weight room, if you'd like to schedule 1-hour time slots, you can do that online. I'm not quite sure yet where you do that. I believe it's on the athletic website, but by the time you get to school, we will make sure that you know that.
Great, thank you. You touched a little bit on clubs and activities, but there were some follow-up questions about that, how those are going to work. Are they going to be mostly virtual or in person, and maybe how students would find out about those activities once they get to campus if they're visiting. And along with that, there was a question about if commuter students are allowed to participate in clubs and organizations and campus activities.
Okay, absolutely, commuter students can participate in everything that we have, as long as it's not in the residence halls this semester. And we're encouraging all of our events that happen in person to be outside. Again, we have big tents on campus, so you can be in there. There's picnic tables. The club activities will really depend on the type of club that it is. So if it's the marketing club, for example, they work a lot on marketing events, and they are a creative bunch, and they will be able to offer programs. The events will be in small groups. We're limited in the number of sizes. All the events will have to maintain the social distancing requirements. Some people may, I'm guessing a lot of meetings will happen virtually, and then some of the planning that they will happen in person. Did I get all those questions, Chip?
Yes, great, thank you. That was fantastic. So there is a question about the residence halls. It may not be clear to people, there is housing available this fall, but the question is, will we be able to move back in when the second semester starts? So maybe the question is, do we know what our spring plans are gonna look like and those sorts of things?
We don't have specific plans yet for the spring semester. If you have not opted, if you wanted to take the semester off from living on campus, we do hope to be able to offer more rooms for the spring semester. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like. A lot of it will depend on how things fall into place in October and November. But there will be an opportunity if you took the semester off from living and you want to try, we're going to try to make it work.
Okay, thank you. There was a question about the health form. And so I'm not sure if that's the student health form for opting out of insurance or if it's the student pledge about the COVID process. So if you could hit both of those, that would be helpful.
Okay, I'm guessing it has to do with the immunization record that all students who live on campus need to submit. If you haven't submitted it by now, you can bring it on your first when you move into campus. All residents need to have the immunization. That's a hard copy of a form that we need. Also, resident students have to submit a COVID safety plan so that we know who your emergency contact is and what you may need to do with quarantine. And then the third thing is health insurance. All students are required to have health insurance. And you are sent information on what to do if you already have a health insurance through your family or some other program. That's fine, we can accept that. You just need to show that proof of insurance and opt out of LaRoche's. If you do not have health insurance, we do have an option for you that we believe is it's a good value for what it covers.
Great, thank you. Question about student IDs. So how do I go about getting that if I need one?
Okay, if you are a returning student, your ID from last year will work. If you damaged it or lost it, we can use that picture to create a new one, the picture that you had taken before. If you are a new student, you had the opportunity to submit pictures already, and we will have IDs ready for you. If you did not do that yet, we will take your picture on move-in or the first week of classes and get you an ID during the first week.
Great. I'm going to open it up to questions for everyone, but we still have quite a few for Colleen. We did receive a series of questions about the ELMSN program. And so Dr. McCarthy will have a breakout room before we end our session today for those students. So if you are an ELMSN student, if you would send me in the chat box that you want to be assigned to that breakout room, when we end the program today, we'll give you an opportunity to talk with Dr. McCarthy about the questions because there were several that were raised. And so we'll provide that opportunity for you. Question about access to the library. Is there any restrictions to when I can come and go, particularly if I'm a commuter student?
So I think that question is for me. The library will be starting on Monday, operating on regular library hours. There are going to be restrictions in terms of the number of individuals allowed in the facility at any one time, and those numbers will be posted, and the librarians will be working to make sure that we stay under those limits. But other than that, there really aren't any restrictions. That we still have the same databases that are available. The hours will still be available. So yeah.
Great. And another question for you, since we have you, would a person be able to go from a resident student to fully online in the spring? Can they make a change in their type of instruction between semesters?
Yes, I think that will be possible. But again, I would encourage the student to work with their advisor to make sure that those online course offerings fit with what they need to graduate. Honestly, who knows what the spring semester is going to look like in terms of classroom-wise.
Absolutely. And could you talk a little bit about how when the end of fall semester is going to be and what it's going to look like?
Absolutely. So the end of fall semester is going to be, well, let me say this: the on-campus will be completed by Thanksgiving. So the last day of class will be the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. Then we will have a finals week that is online the following week after Thanksgiving. Just make sure to pay attention to that final schedule, which is posted on my LaRoche, so to find out exactly when your finals will be need to be taken.
Great, thank you. Let me go back to these questions. For Colleen, are students going to have to move out of the residence halls completely in the fall, or will they be able to leave their stuff over break?
I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm having a little bandwidth connection problem. I apologize. Will students need to move their belongings out of the residence halls at the end of the fall semester?
We have not yet determined that. It really will depend on the virus and how things are going. So we'll let people know that probably end of October, early November.
Great. And will there be a room switch or room change period available?
We are able to accommodate students as they need a room change. We are not going to have a specific room change period that we've had in the past.
Okay, great. And for Dr. McCarthy, if you are coming from out of state, like say Ohio, do you need to self-quarantine for 14 days, or are we okay?
So we had asked students to please quarantine in your own home for 14 days. So we were hoping that you would just stay with your immediate family and not go on vacation. And if you wanted to go for a hike or something like that, that would be fine. But yes, we were asking to quarantine in your own home. And then certainly once you get here, all other screening processes will be in place. So that's all we ask.
Great. And along with that, there's a question, do students need to bring anything special to check in for school, any documents of any kind? We talked about immunization records and some things like that, but is there anything else that they would need to bring related to COVID or anything like that?
At this point, no. If you have tested positive, then we would like a note. If you have tested positive, within the last 14 days for whatever reason, we would like a note from the physician saying that you are cleared. But no, other than that, there's no other paperwork.
Great, thank you. And for Colleen, a question about parking passes. How will those be handled this fall? Will people go straight to the public safety desk, or will there be another method for getting parking permits?
Some students, we did a mailing for some parking permits, but they will be able to get a parking permit when they arrive on campus.
Great. Can you talk very briefly about athletics? There's a question about, will winter athletes be staying on campus after Thanksgiving break? There was a question about bowling. And so maybe just a little more detail about our athletic plans at this point.
Okay. Our winter sport is one of our winter sports is basketball. Basketball is not scheduled to start until January. So the athletes on the basketball team do not need to stay after Thanksgiving as they have done in the past. Bowling right now is still scheduled to start this late fall, but the AMCC, the athletic conference we are in, is still discussing that one.
Okay, great. There's a question about people living on campus. Are they able to leave campus for work?
Yes, we are not restricting students from their job or doing what they need to do. We're just asking them to make smart choices and be responsible, social distance when they work, and follow those protocols.
Great, thank you. And for Dr. Ishiyama, are there any changes to the book checkout policy for the library this semester, or any other library restrictions that people might need to know about?
No.
Awesome. All right, I think that is the majority of the questions. I will be working at assigning the ELMSN folks into a breakout room with Dr. McCarthy, so that will take me a few minutes. But before we end our program today, I'd like to turn the program back over to our president, Sister Candace Introcaso, for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Weisgerber. So let me close by thanking all of you for your participation in this town hall meeting today. There's still a lot of uncertainty surrounding this pandemic, but we are certain in our ability to provide high quality instruction and meaningful educational experiences for all of our students, both in person and online. But I have to implore you to do your part. You have to take responsibility for keeping this community safe and healthy. Please wear a mask, practice social distancing, wash your hands often and thoroughly. If you commit to those 3 simple things, we'll be able to move together forward and complete this semester without any disruption. We're all in this. Faculty, staff, students, we all need to do that. We all need to follow those protocols. As you heard today, we put a lot of time and energy and research into developing this plan for reopening La Roche for this fall semester. Let's do our best to make sure it's a successful semester. That's what we all want, so let's make it happen. So I wish you all the best as you begin your fall semester at La Roche, and God's blessing on all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Candace. That concludes our official town hall. ELMSN students will be getting an invitation to join the breakout room momentarily. And if you did not get that for some reason, please send me another chat message and we'll have that available for you. And Dr. McCarthy will be there to answer some of your questions. And again, we thank you for attending today and we look forward to seeing you soon.